All right. Yeah, grab. If you want to. Now we have transitioned to using those books that we give out. You didn't get one this past Friday. You got one. Those are now our books. We don't use these books for youth anymore. But if there are extras like this, you can just take them. Yeah. All right. Okay. Hello. Hello. Happy Sunday, everybody. I know it's a little bit of a different type of Sunday because we don't have our tables out. It's a little rainy, which is great. But I am going to invite everybody over there to come over here. And it's not just for me. I think our speaker would also appreciate that he has people to speak to. Come on over this way. Come hang out. It'll be great. Yeah. Yeah, come hang out. Okay. Well, happy Sunday, everybody. And we good? Cool. So just so you all know, these like especially the initial parts of some of the sharing, these are recorded. We've had some parents, some people who can't make it because they're doing choir practice or they're somewhere else that would also like to watch these. So just know that's the case. But the idea isn't to like, oh, let's tell everybody about everything that's going on in our lives. The idea is just so we can have a platform for people to just see what's going on, right? So, welcome everybody. Like I said, today, and we're gonna go to our next slide. We're here at Hope Church Youth Ministry. Our mission is to help middle school and high school students embrace their unique personal callings, right? Received in a relationship from Jesus, and then as well fostered here in this community of believers. So we're gonna invite all the parents to sit on in closer to this side. And so it is our vision that the middle school and the high school students here at Hope Church will be baptized as disciples of Christ and to be mobilized into serving here at Hope Church. So, with that, I am extremely thankful for all of you to be here because oftentimes this isn't talked about enough. But here, as a group, we are going to learn as a family, we're going to grow as a family and grow as a community, right? So, if you can hop back on, Hung, for me to the slides, would be great. Um, Today, we have a very special treat for all of you. So, today we're here to talk about Habits of the Household Part 2. Habits of the Household Part 2. Last week, or last month, we talked about Habits of the Household Part 1. Today, we're going to talk about Part 2. And so, this is the flow that we're going to go through today. We're going to talk about the habit, we're going to have a testimony sharing, and we're going to break up into our small groups again. Okay? Everybody good? Y'all ready? So before we get into really the meat of like, oh, these habits, I hope to share again with you the why behind the what. The why behind the what. Okay. So as we come together to talk about our habits, talk about our routines, really when we think about habits, each time we follow through with a habit as an individual is a vote of confidence in who we want to become. Right? When we follow through with a habit, it's a vote of confidence in who we eventually want to become. And as a family, that's the same thing. When our families go through intentional routines and habits, it's a vote of confidence in who this family is moving to become. And so, if that's the case for us as individuals, it is absolutely the case for us as family. So, how do we do this as a family? And maybe to start, why we do this as a family. So, in December, I passed out a piece of paper. I don't know how many of you looked at it, but it is what are the inventory or take an inventory of your routines and habits that you do at home. And these are the categories that they're on there of bedtime, waking up, meal times, and things like that. Marriage, what is your routine in your marriage or your habits of your marriage? So it is to help you to take inventory. Now, if you haven't done so, that's okay. You can still do it. You can do this every month. You can do this every week. If you are so inclined, you can literally do this every day. But part of it is we don't know what we're currently doing. We don't know how to maybe do the things we want to do. They say this about companies. Culture is either what you set or what you allow, right? Your company culture is what you intentionally design or what you allow to happen. It's the same thing at home. Your family culture is what you set or what you allow to happen. So take inventory and see. But today we're here specifically talking about mealtime. But to start, this is the person that we've been studying. This is his book. He says, parenting, seen properly, is an unceasing spiritual battle. A battle that God is using to refine us, a battle that God will win for us. But if parenting feels like a fight to you, it is because it is. If parenting feels hard, it is because it is. And I stand here as a parent of young kids looking to learn from all of you as parents of older kids because I feel the battles and I can only imagine what battles I'm going to have to fight when we get into your shoes. But if you feel like parenting is hard and it's a battle, it is because it is. So let's talk about this book. Back in the 1920s, there was a study that was done out of Stanford University. And this study was conducted by a researcher whose last name was Terman. And so the journalist Malcolm Gladwell wrote this book called Outliers, A Story of Success, and he mentions this particular study. This is a really famous study. This study is the current longest longitudinal study that's ever been done, meaning when Terman started this, he followed these people all the way through their lives. And at this point, I think 2003 or 2004 was when the last person finally passed. But a lot of people have been looking at these studies. So Terman, he had a hypothesis. He had an idea. He thinks if a person is intellectually really smart, they are set up for success. This was his theory. If a person was intellectually smart, they had the highest potential to become the elites of the country. So what he did was he surveyed more than 250,000 elementary school students. He sent them all these IQ tests. And he tested every one of them, and he picked 1,500 of them who scored IQs of more than 135. That's really high, right? 135. So he found the highest scoring IQ students of this particular set. It's done in California. And he decided to follow them through the rest of their lives to see if they started really, really smart, I will bet that they will end up being the elites of the country. Years later, this is part of what he found. They looked at 730 of the men who were divided into 3 groups. He saw that in the top 20%, they were the people who were considered the elites of the group, right? We share these same ideals, the lawyers, the MDs, the engineers, right? We share the same ideals. He noticed that 20% of the people he thought were the smartest of the group became lawyers, doctors, engineers, and academics. There were 60% who he just labeled as satisfactory. And these were maybe middle managers, maybe jobs that weren't quite as quote-unquote skilled, but these were just the people who were you did okay. But then interestingly, there was also this bottom 20%. These were people who had low-level jobs, things like custodial work, things like labor work, like gardening, those type of things, were people who just stayed at home and actually had no jobs. So the same group of people, remember, these were 1,500 of the smartest kids in elementary school. He thought if they were smart to begin with, they would have the highest potential to become great. And look, the distribution is there, that 20% of the top became the elite, 60% became quote-unquote satisfactory, and 20% had low-level jobs or no jobs. And the question is why? And so other people looked into this. They used this data. And they saw that of the people who eventually grew to become the elites, they had great jobs and they did really well, a lot of them came from backgrounds of concerted cultivation, which means an attempt to foster and assess a child's talents, opinions, and skills. And really, it's to provide opportunities for them, to teach them, to care for them, and to give them these wisdom and experiences to become quote-unquote great. And those people that had low-level jobs or didn't do quite as well, they belonged to this group called the accomplishment of natural growth. These are just parents who were like, I am doing so much just to keep you alive. You just grow. And so the people who achieved a lot of good things, they found typically fit with the top category, and the people who quote-unquote achieved lower levels were part of this lower category. And so they eventually concluded that in the end, only one thing mattered if a child achieved good things or great things: family background. They accounted for this person's height, they accounted for these person's weight, their strength, their attributes, their hair colors, how tall they were, how short they were, and in the end, only family background mattered. So Malcolm Gladwell, he says the students or the people in the lower categories, they lacked only one thing. They lacked something that could have been given to them if we'd only know what they needed, a community around them that prepared them well for the world. And so family, this is where you come in. This is where we come in as both individual families and as a family of families. We're here to help our students. It's not about what they achieve or what they become in the future. It'd be great if that's the case, but really, if anything, these studies show for us that the only thing really that helps a child to become the person that they are is family background. Your habits, your routines don't change God's love for you, but God's love for you can and should change everything about how you raise your family, how you care for your family. We remember that in God there is no condemnation. There's only a drive to move towards what God wants us to be. So God is going to open his heart and show us how he wants us to care for our children. And this is what Romans says. Romans says, but God demonstrated his own love for us, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us, meaning he didn't care that our habits are like this, our actions are like this, that we are this way or that way. He just loved us. But because of that love, it should inspire us to do what we can for our students. So that is just a little prelude to why it's important what you're doing. And I applaud you and I commend you all for being here today. So thank you for being here. But let's talk about meal times. So one of the habits that really stood out to me was this idea of meal times. And in fact, some parents even asked me, bless you, some parents asked me, hey, can we talk specifically about family meal times? Like, why is that a thing? I keep hearing family meal times is like important, so why? So let me share with you. This is what the American Heart Association says, right? This is a study published last year, or a survey published last year. They said 84% of adults, they surveyed 1,000 adults, 84% of the adults wish they could share a meal more often with loved ones. So in the midst of the COVID situation, the isolation, 84% of the people they asked wish they could share a meal more with loved ones. 67% say sharing a meal reminds them of the importance of connections, and more than half of them says a meal reminds them to slow down, especially with loved ones. Columbia University, in their Center for Addiction and studying addiction in youth and young people, let me share these statistics with you, right? If you look at this chart, the people in red are the people who have 0 to 2 family dinners a week. The people in blue are people who have 5 to 7 family dinners a week. Okay? So ready? Let's go through this together. When asked, they asked 1,000 teens, and this is an ongoing project. They release some papers every other year, but they asked 1,000 teens. They said, how many of you feel like your parents know a lot about what's going on in your life? The people who have had 5 to 7 family dinners a week, 92% of them say yes. People who only have family dinners 0 to 2 times a week say 60% say my family knows a lot about me. This may even be a little scarier. They say, how many of you feel like your parents know little to nothing about you? People who only have family meals 0 to 2 times a week say, 40% of them say, yeah, my parents, they don't really know much. If you look at this chart over here, this is talking about, they asked these teens, how do you rate your relationship with your parents? How do you rate your relationship with your mom and your dad? Would you rate your relationships as excellent? Once again, people in blue, half of them say my relationship with them are excellent, whereas only 36 or 28% say my relationship with my mom and my dad is more than 4 times a month. People who have frequent family dinners, about half of them say we attend more than 4 times a month. Whereas people who don't have as many family dinners, maybe only 1/3 say they attend 4 times a month. 4 times a month is once a week. Right. Stress levels. Of the people who report having high stress or low stress, they asked you, how many of you consider yourself having high stress? How many of you consider yourself having low stress? The people in blue say, you know, not as many of us say we have high stress, but many more of us say we have lower stress compared to people who are in red. These statistics will all be there for you. I'm going to post them on the website. You can all look through these. This, please keep in mind, this comes from Columbia University, and this is their study on addiction, their study on drug use. There are statistics about this that talk about marijuana use, that talk about alcohol, and it tracks very similar. The people who have more family meals together tend to do better. The people who don't have family meals together as much, they don't tend to do quite as well. So simply put, frequent family dinners make a big, big difference. But friends, your love, your habits, your routines do not change God's love for you. So if you feel like I am not having enough family dinners right now, oh my gosh, my kids won't feel like I have good relationships with them. Oh my gosh, they're going to not do well. Please remember, in God's love, it's okay. There's no condemnation, and that's why we're here. We're here to think about these things. We're here to learn about these things. Your habits, your routines don't change God's love for you, but God's love for you can and should inspire you to do these things. And so, in the Habits of the Household book, these are the things that they talk about. These are the things that they mention you can use as practical guides to maybe bring in a little bit more family meals, to bring in a little bit more of that family relationship. Things like not allowing devices at the table, one conversation rule. We can go over some of these things, and I'm going to actually invite someone else to share on some of these things. But these are the things that they say. Once again, this resource will be posted for you all. If you have questions, you can let me know. But this is a really key thing, and I hope you all remember this, is your meal with your family may not be a dinner, but it should be something. And maybe it doesn't have to be every day, but you can start with something more often than not so it feels like the norm. We want to start into this routine, start into this rhythm so it becomes a part of your family. Okay? Great. Now, like I said, I'm not an expert on this because my kids are really young. So I am super, super excited that one of our brothers wanted to share about his family and how they bring intention into their family. Okay, so if you will all please join me in welcoming Alex to the stage.
Mandarin or English? Which one do you prefer? Okay. Huh? Espanol, see? Okay, I'll probably in English, but 穿插一些中文, okay? Because some of the things that I'm gonna share needs to be in Chinese, Mandarin. So, okay. So I think it's very, guys, very 天气冷，喉咙痛, okay? 喉咙痛, okay? No, okay, I think guys, amazing. Like last December, after one of the meeting, I actually had the urge to tell Joe, okay, I want to share. And that same week, before I tell, before I told Joe, Joe approached me asking me if, oh, I'm available this Sunday. Before he said anything, I told him, yeah, I'll do it. So I sort of share him, the same 感动, that feel I want to share with all of you. And okay, and also I didn't see his slide just now, but I think a lot of what he just said sort of coincide with what I'm going to share. So I think it's pretty amazing guys doing his work. Okay. so, so when we talk about habit of the household, right? To me, there are two things that I want to achieve. I think most parents would like to achieve is to improve relationship with our children. I think that's pretty much, I would say, the most important things. And I think Joe shared, just now all the statistics. Your relationship with your children really help them succeed, later on in their life. And also the second one, second purpose or second goal that we want to achieve is that so, our children will like continue to walk in the God's path and serve when they go to college, right? And I think it's the weather, okay? Like this morning's worship, I'm really touched by today's worship. It's all like middle schooler, college, not college, high schooler serving, right? I think I think as a parent, I think you are probably very proud. They are like serving right now. And I think that if they keep this habit, it will help them to, you know, continue to serve when they go to college. Like, so, like for me, like seeing Jeremiah, my older son in college, I know he's like working out and like cooking every day, and also, especially more importantly, serving in double A and still going to church. So I'm really glad, I would say for us, what we have done at our house really helped him to like continue doing what he's doing right now. So when we talk about habit of the household, you know, I think a lot involves parenting. So a little bit of disclaimer. No, okay, you don't need to read. It's just a 好玩而已, okay? Okay. But disclaimer, I'm when we talk about habit of the household, it involves parenting. So I'm not telling people how to be a parent. I'm just sharing my experience. So might not it worked for us, so might not work for some of you. So it's a disclaimer, just whatever you read or hear today, just take it with a grain of salt, like and just take whatever that works for you or try it, right? Okay, so today is about house meal time. So I'll share a little bit of what we do every day at home. Okay. Yeah, because I'm sharing today, so I get to like. Yeah, that's only 7.99 from 99 range. So these are all from last week. It's not because I'm sharing this week, so I purposely cooked last week all these. If you check my kids' phone, or I actually send out pictures every day of what we cook, so like a sort of lure them down to eat. So so we have a family group chat. So every day after we finish cooking, I will like every day pretty much 5菜6菜一汤, right? No, no, but it's actually pretty simple. But a lot, but in the Chinese saying, right? 抓住老公的胃就是抓住老公的心, right? So when you grab your husband's stomach, you have his heart. So I would say it sort of you can apply the same thing to your kids, right? 你抓住小孩的肚，就是抓住小孩的心, right? So what we do every day is, take pictures and then send it to the group chat, and then they all come down. So huh? 什么? Yeah, I'll send you the pictures every day. Yeah, from Bonzo. But okay, but I'm trying to make it more lively so I don't get too nervous. But anyway, so for us, that's what we do. Every day we cook and then take pictures, and they all come down and we all eat together. Okay, so we actually put all the phones away, so we don't like eat and still like using phones. right? And when Joe shared with me on, and also some sharing we had in the past, I'm pretty surprised. A lot of family don't eat dinner together. For us, it's like really normal. It's like, but I was pretty surprised. Not most people. A lot of family don't have it, don't have meal times together, and some of them would take their meal, go to their room, or like come down eat different time. So hopefully, what I share here will sort of help you guys. Is it even Is it? Oh, okay. So to help you guys, to have family meals together. So, huh? Oh, green clothes. Okay, it works now. So for us, is to take pictures so they know dinner is ready, right? And then they all come together and we put phones away so that we can talk freely. And then one thing very important is to avoid nagging. There were times when no, I'm not talking about her nag. No, no, no. There was a period of time where my relationship with Aaron is not so great. And then during mealtime, she would like, I'll get into trouble anyways. But what I'm trying to say is that during that time, because of our conversation, it made me not want to have mealtime together. Okay, that's my point. So don't give me a hard time later tonight. What? Okay. But, yeah, talk freely, not nag freely. Okay. So avoid nagging. Okay. So because when we nag, when kids talk about their school or something, like we as parents, Asian parents, we tend to, oh, need to meal to meal, need to, right? So avoid that kind of nagging conversation. So willingness to listen, right? And then so meal time spent together is really invaluable, right? And okay, so a lot of times kids will say, "Oh, I have exam tomorrow," or "I have this project due," right? So they will like just not come to eat dinner or take meal to their room. But when you think about it, it's only 30 to 1 hour. I don't think that 30 minutes to 1 hour will make a difference in their project, right? They spend way more time in social media, games, Netflix, or whatever, right? They have 30 to 1 hour every single day. So just make the effort to like make them come and eat together. So this 30 minutes, 1 hour will not make a difference in their academic, but will have a invaluable benefit eternally. Okay. Okay. And next two things I'm going to talk about is even though just to make them send them the picture so they can come, it's sort of on the surface, right? There are steps that we do at home that make them want to come together, not just the delicious meal. Okay. So one of them is, get them involved, right? So let them prepare, right? So we clean together, prepare together. So it's sort of the bonding time that Joe mentioned earlier, right? When you do stuff together, as a family, it helps them grow, right? So also give them a sense of accomplishment, right? And then, yeah, bonding, right? And then, so this will help them to like want to come together to eat meal together. Okay, yeah. And then, so family devotion. So right now, I'm not talking about like Bible study. That's reserved for someone else more qualified. But whenever I share, 都不会离开健身 right? So for us, in addition to get them involved in prepping the meal, help clean up, is to do things together as a family, right? So 讲到健身 right? 就是 like when you go to the gym, right? You achieve results, by doing things consistently, not occasionally. So same thing with the household habit, mealtime. No need to zoom in, Ronnie. So as the house mealtime, if you 假如你们很久没有做，或是有这种一起吃饭 right? Then it's something just like going to the gym. It's something you need to continue doing so you will achieve success. Right? And then just, it sounds pretty simple, but not easy, right? 好像说去健身房 right? It's easy, right? Just pick up dumbbell and push, right? Right? It sounds easy, but it sounds simple, but it's not easy, right? Same thing with a lot of habit, household, right? Oh, 就像刚才讲的那个照相 right? You just take picture, they come. Not that easy. It sounds simple, but it's actually not easy because there are stuff you need to do in the background to make them want to come together. So, and then, so for us, we do activities together. Like Jeremiah likes to play golf, go to the gym, so we actually work out, go play golf together. And then Jaden likes to do he likes to work on cars, fixing stuff. So we do it together. And then Gerald, a lot of you know, right? I spend a lot of time with my kids, like more than my wife think I should. Okay, I'll get to trouble anyways. So just make the effort, to spend time with them genuinely. Like one time, Gerard, when he was in elementary school, there was an essay about talking about your parents, right? And then he listed out of things. So, my parents do this, right? And then one of the things he says, they pretend to play with me. Yeah, because as a parent, sometimes we are busy, especially when we have like young kids, 2, 3, 4 years old, right? In the past, I mean, even I did it also. 他们来找我 right? 就很忙啊，你自己看书 or whatever, right? So they know if we are really 有没有真心想要跟他们 so they know. That's why I say we pretend to. So for us, it's so just encourage all of you, just to find your children's interests and make the effort to spend time with them, do them together. And then, okay, just some verse and encouragement. So one thing I want to sort of share is principle versus preference. Like earlier I mentioned about nagging, right? A lot of time when we, as a parents, when we do things, we tend to like fight with them over their preference instead of principle. I don't know if that makes sense. Like a lot of time when we nag our children will say, "Oh, 你怎么穿这件衣服那么 baggy？ 为什么染头发 right? Or how come your room is so messy, right?" I would say these are all preference. Like even rooms, right? Like, okay, Jaden is not here, so like Jaden, sometimes as a parent, we would think, "Oh, his room is kind of messy, right?" And then we'll nag him, but to him, he knows where things are and he can get things done, right? And so one time I 看不下去, right? So I cleaned his room. And when he came back, he's like, "Oh, 你怎么把房间弄乱的, right?" So I mean, we need to pick our battle. As a parent, as parents, we want their room to be clean, right? Very orderly, right? And we can't stand messy. But to them, that's orderly, right? So, so a lot of time when we nag them, fight over preference, that tends to shut them down, right? And then principle, it's like if they are doing, moral something morally wrong or 什么偷啊抢啊 whatever, something like that, or something that's not according to God's teaching, that's principle, right? So 可能 maybe my wife or some people would think, oh, I'm kind of lax, I never like yell at my kids, or but to me it's like if it's their preference, there's no point in fighting over it, right? So hope that makes sense to all of you. So there are two verses that I want to share, which I think 圣经真的讲的很有道理, right? It says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children, lest them become discouraged." 就是说，你们做父亲的不要惹儿女的气，恐怕他们失了志气。It's not about like every 就是都让他们like just go with whatever they want. It's not like that. It's sort of like not provoking them. So a lot of time, for example, they will say, "Oh, I have project due tomorrow, so I have to like study tonight very late." For us, we would say, "Oh, 你怎么不早一点?" Right. That does not help them, right? So I think that's sort of like what it's saying here. Don't provoke them, but sort of encourage them, right? And yeah, so next one is, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. 就是说，你们做父亲的，不要惹儿女的气，只要照着主的教训和警戒养育他们。So I think these two verses really help me in terms of, bring up my kids and sort of also my parenting styles. So in conclusion, to help with family time together, just build a relationship, spend the time with them, right? And then that will sort of make them want to spend time together as a family. Right? Okay, I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Alex. What a awesome sharing. It is so cool. Like just learning so much. As I mentioned, all of these slides will be on our website. You'll be able to see them. You'll be able to have them. But here's the thing. We want to talk about it. We want to talk about the why it's important to come and have these meals and how it's done. Maybe for some families, it doesn't look like this. But for some families, these are things that we can start to implement. So what we're going to do now is we're going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes, and we're going to discuss one question with a follow-up. And the question is, do you have family meal times? And if you do, how does it work for you? If you don't, what makes it hard? Do you have family meal times? If you do, how does it work? If you don't, what makes it hard? So once again, groups of 4, at most 5, but preferably groups of 4. I encourage for today. In the past, I don't necessarily care if spouses are together. Today, I encourage the spouses to be apart so that you can get more perspective. If the spouses are in 2 separate groups, that's 6 other perspectives, versus if you're in the same group, that's only 2 other perspectives, right? So please, we're going to split up into groups, go off into the sides, go into your separate sections. We're going to spend 10 to 12 minutes having this discussion, and then afterwards, we'll come back into a time of prayer, okay? So please, we'll split off, we'll go off into our separate sections, and we're going to just have this discussion. Yes? Spouse 分开，对，分开。Okay. 所以 groups of 4， 希望今天 spouse 可以分开。你分开的话，你听到的一些想法或一些 ideas 会更多，right？听